Imagine being told as a child that you might never speak, neither write or learn, and then somehow you defy all these expectations. You earn a doctorate and you become a professor at just 37 years old at one of the most prestigious universities in the world, University of Cambridge in the UK. This is about Jason Arday. For a moment, Jason's story looked almost too good to be true. So this is the type of stories that people love, especially universities, because these are stories that shows perseverance and also beating the odds. But then people started to ask questions about these stories. First about his academic work, his qualifications, and then about all his extraordinary stories that he told about his life. Then suddenly a man who became symbolic to success was at the center of the UK's biggest academic controversies. 5th of August, Jason Arday resigned from Cambridge. The university itself is trying to investigate how the got there in the first place. One question is clear: how did we get from the success story that Cambridge shared and talked about and bragged about to an independent investigation? This is the story of Jason Arday. Exactly 1 hour after I filmed this video, the unfortunate news came out that Jason Arday had passed away. So RIP to Jason. Let's give a little background. He's Jason Arday was born in 1985 to Ghanaian parents in South London. His mother was a mental health nurse and his father was a chef. According to Wikipedia, he said he was diagnosed with autism, global developmental delay, deafness, and dyscalculia, and that he was nonverbal until the age of 11. That means he couldn't speak, he couldn't communicate with people till he was 11. That's what he said. He also said that he couldn't read and write till he was 18 years old and was diagnosed with dyslexia in his first year of university. So eventually he said that he was able to enter the university at 20. He later went on to earn a PhD from the Liverpool John Moorish University in 2015. After that, he went on to hold academic positions at institutions including Durham and Glasgow. I'm not British. All these university names, I have no idea. He said that his research focused heavily on race, racism, inequality, and education. Then, after all these experiences, he came to Cambridge. In 2023, at the age of 37, Arday became the youngest black professor in the university's history. The appointment made headlines, actually, and you can understand why. Like, Cambridge is known to be one of the most prestigious universities in the world, and getting a job there is not very common. It has to be hard to get in, right? That's what we would all assume. So apart from being a professor, I had a lot of interviews, to be honest. You can see that the university was propping him up. It was really good for their PR, because people are saying that it was around the time of the Black Lives Matter movement and all this, people coming against Cambridge for it being not very inclusive. So this was really at the height of all this. He became very active in public discussion about race, education, and diversity. He was increasingly presented as an inspirational figure, and then came another chapter of his story. He released a memoir. Obviously, for someone who has done such extraordinary things, it makes sense that he will release a memoir. I mean, who wouldn't want to read how he went through the journey to become the first youngest Black British professor? So he released this book called Great and Unfortunate Things. I find it a little bit eerie that his memoir was titled Great and Unfortunate Things, and considering his tragic end and everything that has happened, it's a little bit poetic. Eventually, people began looking closely at this inspirational story that he had told the world. One of the major controversies involved allegations of plagiarism in his doctoral thesis and other academic writing. Nathan Kofnas, I'm going to talk about him later, but he was a former Cambridge researcher, published materials comparing passages from Arday's work with earlier academic writing. Allegations became increasingly public during 2026. But the claims were disputed and previous reviews had not established wrongdoings in the way critics alleged. So apparently he also wrote some papers that people had pointed out that, hey, you took this directly from us. So he had to write a review. When you publish a scientific paper and you later find more information or you've plagiarized someone's work, you can also come out and do a review, and then you write it, they write it somewhere that, you know, this text has been modified, blah, 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 and stuff like that. So apparently some of his papers, this happened. And then something changed the entire trajectory of the story. Because people were very skeptical about his academic work, they also started looking at his biography. One thing I also have to say is that one of the interviews that I watched, he said he finished his PhD in 2.5 years.
I completed my PhD in 2.5 years, working full-time.
I know that most of the time, if you want to do a PhD, it's between three years. That's the earliest. But I've never heard anyone finish their PhD in 2.5 years. If that's true, allegedly, how did the university agree for him to graduate that quickly? The streets are also saying that his supervisor was not really available. He only met him like once. So I guess that could also explain why he didn't really look into his thesis, you know? Because when it comes to your PhD, you need to always communicate with your supervisor. You have to have like a weekly meeting or twice. Okay, so the minimum is like twice a month, sometimes once a month. But the fact that you can abandon your PhD student for that long and only meet him once, I mean, it's just create a recipe for disaster. So people were skeptical about his biography. The Guardian UK wrote an article. He had read his memoir, okay, and they made a comparison. One of the claims that he made was that he had run 30 marathons in 35 days. He had also run 600 miles in 6 days. What is 600 miles? 600 miles is almost 1,000 kilometers. The Guardian also had reported they had interviewed some of his former schoolmates and they disputed some aspects of his childhood accounts. There's a lot of interviews that he's made when you go to YouTube. And there are interviews from all these British publications. And then the things that he was saying there is not the same things that he wrote in the book. So that's how people were finding out all these discrepancies. According to what we are seeing here, his background has mainly been in education. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but how did he get into sociology? Like, his work has not been in this direction about sociology, race, and all that. It was education. So how did he become that mouthpiece? How did he convince Cambridge to hire him for that position? That is the craziest. That's the craziest part of the story. How was he able to get hired? I don't know. There's just a lot of gaps in between. What is the criteria for hiring someone as a Cambridge professor? I don't understand how this can happen. Some people are saying that they probably hired him because they knew he was lying. They hired him in order to prevent them from hiring other people of color in Cambridge. That's what people are saying. I don't know how true that is, but it's very fishy. So remember the guy that I mentioned about who had brought to light the plagiarism? I mean, there is something called intersectionality. These two things can coexist at the same time. Was the guy investigating him because he was black? Probably. Was he right? Yes. See, those two things can coexist. It doesn't mean one or the other. Some people are also saying that this is probably going to be something that the right wing is going to use against DEI. I mean, there has also been people who are supporting this guy. There's like a community called Good Law Project who are saying that there is a smear campaign against him, and yeah, to put your signatures to fight against that. Yeah. So if you're interested in helping Jason fight the system, you can go and sign up there. His supporters are arguing that he's been subjected to unfair campaign. But actually, Cambridge had announced that they have new information related to Arday's academic qualification and honorary appointments, and that the university wants to investigate. So this Arday resigned. He said the decision was made after what he described as a relentless accusation and public scrutiny. So these days, he has resigned. His book is also out. So the book that brought about all these controversies is on Amazon, actually. Great and Unfortunate Things. And when you go to the book reviews, it has like 2.3 out of 5. You guys are brutal. A couple of people gave four stars, a couple of them 5 stars, and then there was 1 star. So the 1 star, someone says 0 star, not 1 star. The whole thing is made up, front to back. It's absolutely insane that a publisher went ahead with publishing the book, and Amazon has it as its editor's pick. Someone gave a 5 star and said that Jason has outdone himself with this masterwork. Future literary scholars would likely judge that this is a great novel of the 21st century. By spinning together dozens of stories into one fictional life, he has created a truly great work of fiction. This is supposed to be an autobiography, by the way. They are saying that he was using... So basically, he's packaged himself as like the exception. Having neurodivergence, being autistic, being deaf, couldn't read and write till he was 18. What else? Yeah, there was another story that he has said that someone had put pig head on his desk, and he didn't have any photos of it. There was no CCTV captured. The police decided they didn't want to investigate because there was no evidence. So he said he was being harassed and stuff like that. So that's also another story. He also wrote a book with another lady about love. It's called We See Things They'll Never See: Love, Hope, and Neurodiversity. I mean, it's a little bit, if it's whatever you're saying is, whatever they are saying he did is true, it's a little bit sick. Let's say that he is not neurodivergent. Like, just preying on this community to... So Jason resigned shortly after this, and he said he made a decision after he described as relentless accusations and public scrutiny. Importantly, he said his resignation should not be interpreted as an acceptance of the allegations. I am wondering if there are any students who would come and defend him. Just curious. Or academic staff. So Cambridge has also acknowledged that the controversy has damaged the university's reputation, and reports indicate that Durham and Glasgow are reviewing aspects of Arday's appointment at their institution as well. So the story has expanded from one professor to the institution that's helped his career. They're not checking anything. So I think that's, I guess maybe they sometimes hire people because they are famous to kind of boost the PR, allegedly, of the universities, because that attracts more people to come to the university and funding, because apparently a lot of universities are not getting a lot of funds. So they are finding ways to boost the image of the school to, it's just catastrophic. This is a very complicated case. It's multi-layered. I mean, the guy is allegedly a fraud, but the universities are really complicit about this. And you can also talk about this without bringing in whatever DI thing that's it's just messy. So for now, Jason is no longer a Cambridge professor, and Cambridge is investigating his appointments. And his memoir, which has become a really big part of the controversy, is out. People are buying it. And perhaps the biggest question isn't what happens to Jason Arday, but really what happens to the institutions around him. Because universities don't just simply hire people, you know. they need to confer some kind of legitimacy, especially for Cambridge. And I would assume that Cambridge professorship carries an enormous credibility. When the credibility of the institution is questioned, imagine the rot. How many other people have been hired based on, I don't know, what is the criteria? Jason Arday's story began as an extraordinary one and ended somehow in a different direction. And I'm guessing that one of the things that we can learn is if someone is telling you something that is too good to be true, it probably is. Thank you for watching the video till this point. If you liked it, click the like button. If you haven't yet subscribed, subscribe down below. And if you are interested in watching other videos of mine, I'm gonna put it here. And I'll see you in the next one. Doei!